Why do avatars come to Earth? There are many reasons, in all honesty, and they are reasons that are very specific to each avatar, incarnation of God. Now, when I say avatar, I mean the purest flake of Godhead, of the source. A lot of the time, most of the time, these various pieces, these avatars of like pure consciousness, undiluted by anything materialistic, undiluted by anything that is binding to materiality, to the astral realm, to the causal realm, to the various dimensions in which we incarnate. An avatar is funneled through various gods and goddesses based on their mission and based on where they are. So what is also a commonality is that every avatar has a specific mission and a specific message to kind of give to humanity as a whole. So, for instance, this is a little bit controversial, but there are other Hindus who believe this. I consider myself Hindu. I'm a Shakta. I believe that the Divine Mother Kali, there's all kinds of Shaktas, various goddesses, mostly mother goddesses. I believe that Divine Mother Kali is the ultimate source, the ultimate nature to reality, and it's a very gynocentric worldview where we kind of view everything as different wombs, different layers of wombs. Inside ourselves, womb. Different levels of our body or womb, consciousness. And then this world, this particular world is a womb, this solar system is a womb, this galaxy is a womb, this universe is a womb, and then the multiverse, wombs, wombs, wombs. Just bigger and bigger bubbles, basically. All contained within the infinity that is the source. And I view the Divine Mother Kali as being the source. But this works with all kinds of ideas about the source and God and different religions, though they're usually mutually exclusive, unfortunately. I'm a bit of a universalist, like many Hindus and many Shaktas. But I'll give you an example. So Krishna, he was an avatar. He was filtered through, based on his mission, based on his purpose, through Vishnu. So he was an incarnation of Vishnu. Vishnu is you'll have a lot of Vaishnavites and Hare Krishna followers, devotees that view Vishnu and Krishna as a result as being the ultimate source, the ultimate nature to reality, the infinity that everything is contained within. But filtered through Vishnu. Vishnu, God of preservation. When did Krishna come? He's an incarnation of Vishnu, so preservation. So he came at a time when there was rule of law, there was justice, there was order, but there were a lot of corrupt kings who were also warriors, had big armies. The Kauravas, even the Pandavas. The Pandavas' armies and family was also destroyed, but the Pandavas were kind of the good side. The Kurus and the Kuru clan, they were led mainly by Duryodhana and his father Dhritarashtra, but all of his brothers, they were the kind of rulers that were very corrupt. There was law and order, but they used the law. They used their station to effect change that they wanted to see, but it was changed to put everything in their possession, to put everything under their control in a way that was very manipulative and abusive to the rest of people of India. And, it's Rama, also an avatar of Vishnu. He came at a time when he needed to establish law and order. Far before Krishna, many thousands of years ago, Rama came to establish that law and order that the land just did not have. There was no stability, there was no law combining everything or laying out rules. So his job, established law and order. Krishna was to maintain cosmic law and order, to not allow human laws to help kings abuse everyone else and possess everyone else or rule over everyone else with an iron fist. They had the laws on their side. They had the rights of kings, divine right of kings on their side, but they were using it very badly. So Rama very straightforward, establish law and order. Krishna, kind of be sneaky, be mischievous, and work with the situation at hand to really flip the tables on those corrupt kings that wanted, and mainly one king, Duryodhana, really flip the system on them in a very clever way so that the system no longer benefited them, and that people who deserved, to rule, to be in charge, that would help people, were the ones that came in charge, which is the Pandavas and Yudhishthira, especially. And Yudhishthira and his brothers, Arjuna, Sahadeva, Bhima, all of his brothers, Nukala, all of his brothers represent different parts of the chakras within ourself, inner womb. But they also represented actual people at an actual time. So you see wombs in, wombs out. That's a very Shakta thing to say. But not only did that help the land, but Krishna also helped, he gave a message to man about how to realize themselves, and realize the nature of things, and to escape this cycle that was going to inevitably repeat when the corrupt became in charge once more. So while Krishna came to level everything out at a time, he also delivered a message that was fairly timeless, at least would be useful for many, many thousands of years, through many cycles, through many yugas, Y-U-G-A, cycles of time in Hinduism, that would be useful throughout time and space, but specifically on Earth. So while helping the people at the time, he delivered a message that would resonate in a way that no matter what time you existed in the future on Earth, you could, through contemplation, through meditation, through study of the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. Mahabharata is the epic poem in which the Bhagavad Gita is at the heart of, but the Mahabharata, the longest epic poem of man that we have recorded, Bhagavad Gita is in that. And he delivered the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna on the fields of battle of Kurukshetra. So the Bhagavad Gita, and I've read it and listened to it, different forms, it talks about realizing the nature of reality, of this world, of how nature, humans' lesser natures, even tamas, which is the different gunas that make up everything, the three different natures: tamas, rajas, sattva. Tamas, darkness, torpor, not moving. That's kind of the situation he entered into, and that's why he came as an avatar. Rajas, kind of restlessness between good and evil. It's kind of a time that we're at now. Sattva is going to be in the future. But the self that is within us, the soul, realizing that gives us control all over all these three gunas, these three natures that exist, that make up everything in reality, in this universe, in societal structure. Realizing the three different natures, how to recognize them, and how to find yourself past the mind, at the heart of the mind, past the body, past the mind, and then the consciousness that pierces everything, and how to both enhance our receptibility of that divine consciousness that is at the heart of all human beings, the Atman, and allow that consciousness, that ability within ourselves to blossom and to become freeing rather than confined by material, getting past material and touching that deeper part of yourself that is your soul. So he left a message. At a time of corrupt kings, he left a message of freedom for all people, for as long as people would read it and as long as it would apply, which will be for many, many, many thousands of years. Now, Christ, Jesus Christ, this is a little bit, well, be considered heretical by most Christians, but it's also a little bit controversial among Hindus, because most Hindus, I'd say, don't believe this, but I believe that Jesus Christ was an avatar of Shiva. There's plenty of Hindus that believe that there are no avatars of Shiva, that only Vishnu has avatars. And, Christ being an avatar of Shiva, even more renunciate. Krishna talking about how to liberate yourself, realize yourself within society. Christ was very renunciate in his way of renouncing this world, very Shiva-esque, renouncing the world and realizing the kingdom of God within. Once again, past all the layers, past the body, past the mind, subordinating the mind to a deeper nature, a deeper kingdom, and deeper law that is within yourself, that is the kingdom of God. And, you know, even going so far as to be a renunciate in the sense of non-resistance to evil. I think it was Dostoevsky. No, that's not it. But there was a Russian author that talked quite a bit about Christ's teachings about non-resistance to evil, and that Russian author's name was actually Leo Tolstoy. So the kingdom of God is within you. Christianity, not as a mystic religion, but as a new theory of life. So despite the cross, it's actually fairly universal. And Tolstoy, while he's well known for classical novels, this book is actually really good. And he talks a lot about how Christ's understanding of a non-resistance to evil, and how this isn't necessarily meant to be followed by everybody, because, you know, like a lot of people ask Gandhi, and a lot of people ask people who are against violence in general, or any kind of violent response to things, you know, what if there's a ruler that's incredibly oppressive? Or what if you're meditating and a snake comes up to you and he's going to bite you and kill you? Shouldn't you kill that snake to preserve your life? And Gandhi said, you know, this is the question that you always run into. And it's not necessarily the question that causes man to not really reach a state of nonviolence. It's that too many people ask that question. The question is valid, but only if you're on a certain state of existence, because nonviolence and peace also requires that you be willing to die and not be afraid to die. So realizing the self, Tolstoy talked a lot about this, about Christ's teachings about non-resistance to evil. If there was even a small percentage of people that were completely nonviolent, no matter what happened to them, turn the cheek and forgive other people, not 7 times, but 7 times 77, then that would have an effect on everybody else's consciousness around the world. That would have an effect on them societally and on individuals. But Christ in general is very renunciatory, you know, renouncing society, going towards the kingdom of God. Over time, Christianity kind of became a very societally structured religion. But you can really see a lot of the renunciation and the renunciation of this world and material items in a lot of what Christ said, Sermon on the Mount and things like that. It became a functional religion and the most numerous religion on this planet as far as devotees and believers, because it became more solidified in a thing that could be used in society. But overall, Christ's message was non-violence, non-harm, and a renouncing of this world. And a lot of his language led people to believe that, you know, this was Satan's world, and that there was going to be a rapture, and then everybody that's evil is going to stay here and then eventually go to hell. And then despite Christ not really talking about there not being reincarnation, most Christians do not believe in reincarnation. The works of Origen were banned, considered heretical, and they were tossed aside even before the Second Conference of Constantinople. And you can look up the conferences of Constantinople as far as what they decided went into the Bible. And there's a reason why the ages between 13 and 30 were taken out as far as Jesus' life. They didn't want to put anything in and make anything because that would be super heretical. But they took out that section of any information they had on Christ because he went to India. And even like avatars still go through the human process of having a master, learning from people. And while they inherently know more, they still kind of respect people and bow down to them as masters if they find, you know, legitimate masters that can teach them spirituality, because they willingly enter into the human process of growth, physically as a human body, and then also spiritually. And that's a part of being human, willing to submit to others, to learn from others. And, you know, Christ talking about the kingdom of God being within a single mustard seed, that actually goes back to the idea that, you know, if we go back to the Big Bang, if all the space that is after the Big Bang, which scientists start to not call it that anymore, all the space was collapsed back, all the matter, you know, all the space between atoms, everything came back into one thing, back into an infinity where there is no space and time, into an infinite circle instead of a round circle, where things can be counted and things are expanded and things exist separately back into an infinity. Going back to that, then that would be the size of a mustard seed. Adi Yogi, the first yogi 15,000 years ago, said something similar. He was an incarnation of Shiva as well. And he even used the same mustard seed thing that Jesus said many thousands of years later. Probably about 13,000 years later, Jesus said, also used the mustard seed analogy. All the space collapses, the kingdom of God is within that single thing. He's saying everything is connected. Everything is one. And the kingdom of God is everywhere. It's not about space is a product of time. That's how Sadhguru said. Space is a product of time. And they are interlinked. And we'll see the galaxies collapse again and go back out. Have a day and night of Brahma, day and night of Vishnu, day and night of Shiva. Shiva has the longest ones. We're trillions and trillions of years. At any rate, going off topic, avatars. Adiyogi, avatar of Shiva. Christ, avatar of Shiva. Now Buddha. Now you may be asking yourself, and keep in mind as we go through all these, there is a mission of both enlightening man, but in order to help man not suffer anymore. And Christ even said, we are the shepherds of this world. We are not the butchers. He didn't use the word butchers, but to the shepherds of animals and plants. And we're supposed to caretake this world. We're not supposed to possess it. God didn't give it to us, Godhead, source, didn't give it to us in order to possess it. That's very demonic in actually all these avatars, understandings, and preachings. It's very demonic to want to possess. And God didn't give it for us to possess, but to look after, like a gardener, rather than a real estate salesman, where we think we have this property. It's not ours. We're here. We should take care of things. And animals naturally know this. They know that not all animals, but you'll see animals go to find human beings and seek help from them, because they operate on a level of life that we don't. And their souls will eventually become our souls as the cycle of life continues. So when the avatars come here to help us not suffer anymore, they're preaching to human beings. But these lessons are meant to stick around for even when other souls come forward. And there will be more avatars, and there's been more avatars in the past, but they talk to us because we can understand. But this is a message for all souls. Animal souls are included in this. And, when it comes to avatars, even like Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, there's been other Buddhas in Buddhism. He also came in a big way to try to end suffering, to try to lead us to a very methodical way to get out of it. Because he came at a time when priests, Vedic priests, you do these rituals and you get this result. Very like, cause and effect, rather than knowing what the rituals mean, rather than actually understanding the gods. It was very just like, okay, you put in these coins and you get this result. And it was a very big reliance upon Brahmins, upon priests to do these things for everybody. Buddha came at a time where he wanted to free everybody from having to rely upon Brahmins. To have a method where they could rely upon themselves to realize God. So he didn't really focus on God or calling himself a God. And he came at a time when, and this is a message for people forward as well in time, where instead of reverence or trusting in something else, you're actually purifying yourself and working your way out of suffering, out of ignorance yourself, and how to do it step by step. He didn't mention God. A lot of people think Buddhism is atheistic. It is not. Paramahansa Yogananda, Autobiography of a Yogi. I highly recommend that book. But he talked about how, Buddha actually, the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, Shakyamuni Buddha is his spiritual name, Shakyamuni Buddha. But that he actually did believe in God. It's just that he needed to give people a way to work towards themselves rather than putting it in other people's hands, rather than putting it in the priest's hands. Protestants and Christianity did that, way later with the thesis that Martin Luther nailed to that Catholic Church door. And then because people were paying to get rid of sins, and most people heard, Christian sermons and liturgy in Latin and couldn't understand them. So it was Martin Luther, it was almost like a Buddhist reaction to Catholicism, where it's like, no, people need to be able to read the Bible themselves, pray themselves, and understand what they're doing to connect to God. Buddha came for a very similar reason. Now, Martin Luther's not an avatar, but Buddha came for a very similar reason. Understand yourself. Here's how to alleviate ignorance yourself and reach enlightenment. Methodical. No need to talk about God. Reach that state that you are a part of anyway, because you have a soul within you. And here's how to do it. But we can attribute an alleviation of suffering, and that being a part of their mission, to Rama, Krishna, Christ, and Buddha. Buddha, Christ, whatever the order is. And, Narayana, if you want to go back further in Christianity. And as a Shakta, I kind of think that every single human being everything's part of the Divine Mother for us, but every single avatar is kind of a drop of the Divine Mother. Because the Divine Mother is a part of the source that is compassion, that is a lovingness towards us. So every avatar is kind of a drop of the Divine Mother, which is the source to us. But there's other parts to the source. It's just that we believe the Divine Mother is the ultimate reality, and compassion and the avatars being inherently linked to help us alleviate suffering. Once again, we are meant to be aiders of each other and helpers of this world rather than possessors of it, rather than possessors of each other. And where we get caught up a lot of the time is in fighting over religion and fighting over even our understandings of peace. And the prophets, there's been plenty of prophets of God as well, not just avatars, messengers of God. But prophets are messengers, so they're not any less connected. We tend to argue over the messages, but if we try to actually look at the messages themselves, and we follow how to treat one another, this world would be a far better place. And every avatar's mission is to help us make it a better place so that we can become and realize our divine nature, become part of the source once more. So why do avatars even need to come? Why is there evil? Why is there bad things? Why is there suffering at all? It's hard to explain if we imagine there's a magic man in the sky making decisions who just created everything. But if we look at the Hindu idea, the Vedantic idea that God became everything, that the source became everything, and that there's always going to be this progression through all of these phases of ignorance and pain into realization, into enlightenment, into moksha. Just imagine, the evolutionary cycle of life on this planet. It had to go through various phases of development. The reason why you see so much pain and cruelty and ignorance is because it's not because God allows it, it's because all the cells of God, in essence, all the cells of the Divine Mother, of the source, are working their way. And keep in mind that I still believe in gods. I believe in Odin as well. Odin is my second, Ma Kali my first. But, there's all kinds of people that get filtered through these gods as well. Maybe not avatars per se, but I do believe in gods as well. I work with many gods, many spirits. But think of it as an evolutionary process to where we're at a certain phase. We're not just going to get to being the best people immediately. It's going to be a process of spiritual evolution alongside physical evolution. And nature has worked very hard. The Divine Mother in the form of nature, Prakriti, has worked very hard, just unconsciously in a way, to get us to the level of understanding as human beings, because they had to go through millions and then billions and millions of years for life to develop like this. And now we can take hold of our spiritual process. Now, if we're aware of it, we can take hold of it and increase the process exponentially. We're at a stage right now where we can do that. And we have been for as long as we've been fully aware human beings. But keep in mind that it's not that God allows evil or ignorance, it's that all the cells of God are just figuring everything out slowly. And there's a Godhead source, but we're part of the body, and everything's figuring everything out slowly to become more and more advanced and developed. And a lot of these processes, a lot of these things take time and are painful. And there's a lot of ignorance, there's a lot of evil, and there's a lot of disease, there's all kinds of stuff, all the bad stuff you see. We're in process of every soul on this planet, every life form, slowly reaching an understanding of its divinity. And it's gonna, all the way from amoeba to monkeys, to us, all kinds of violence, all kinds of things, but it's a slow process of self-realization. Everything's becoming united once more. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of pain. But we all, if you're alive, you still have that inherent, divine nature within you that's going to become divinity again. And when Christ said, I and my Father in heaven are one, he wasn't talking about just him as Jesus, as Christ. He was talking about the state of consciousness. He was, and when he was talking about only through me can you realize God, he didn't mean himself. That's where people get it wrong. He meant through that phase of consciousness that we have to reach. And then the me he was talking from wasn't egotistical. It wasn't body. It wasn't even his blood. It wasn't him as a person. It was reaching that stage. And keep in mind, a lot of spiritual masters in many traditions say that we don't even necessarily completely merge. We reach a state of full individuality where we're kind of in a kingdom-like state, maybe not completely merged, but right there. And it wouldn't look like anything that we could see with our eyes and would make sense with our eyes, but we still retain our full individuality, but we are at our peak. And that's what it means to be in the kingdom of God. But there's all kinds of dimensions. Everything is so big. This isn't the only planet with intelligent life. There's billions of planets with intelligent life in this universe alone, and there's many universes. There's many different dimensions. Avatars are going to every planet with intelligent life. And, little flakes of the infinity of Godhead, source, going to different planets, delivering different messages based on what people need to hear in order to realize themselves, their true nature, and alleviate their own suffering. So Earth isn't special in that regard. There's many planets like this. We just happen to have, a certain amount of avatars for us. And keep in mind the gods, which are kind of bigger pieces of the source with various missions of their own, and they live much longer than avatars in human form. The gods are also going through this process, and every single one of us is kind of meant to become a god in a way. We can skip that step and go straight. We can skip all, and even beings in the astral realm, you can become enlightened here on Earth. You don't need to go to the next phase, which is the astral realms, where everything's more energy. You skip that, and often beings have to come back down here in the material realm to realize themselves, because all that tension, all that compactness, all of that separateness, in a way, that division, is a wonderful furnace for realization. At any rate, I think I've gone on for long enough. I hope that this kind of gave you an idea as far as why avatars come to Earth, why avatars come in general, how their missions are very similar, and the purpose of their missions. This is kind of a rough outline. This is not as specific as it could have been. And these are just based on my realizations and what I've learned from various spiritual masters by reading, watching, what have you, and through my own meditations and meditating. It is said that the source at the first iteration of the multiverse, all beings had to do was just to stop and meditate for a little bit and then join back. The source kind of want to make it harder, and that might make you dislike the source, but to fully realize itself, whatever it is, this infinity, had to create illusion, had to have a counterbalance, something like a Satan, just as much a part that we'll get back. Nothing is ever meant to be separate forever, but the process, in order to experience itself, and for all of us to experience ourselves, it had to be a little bit harder. It's going to take more time this time, and there's going to be multiple multiverses, and it's going to take a while, but there's going to be a peak of self-feeling, self-realization that all of this is for. It's going to hurt. It's going to be hard, but everybody's going to get there. It'll just take time. At any rate, I hope, let's get back to my my outro here. But yeah, I hope this has been useful. I hope this helps you understand avatars a little bit more, at least my beliefs about it, my meditations on it. Please learn how to meditate. Definitely helps you feel your soul, your source, your spark, the source, your spark within. And yeah, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up down there, like this video. Feel free to leave a comment. Both things help traffic to this channel. Liking this video is the biggest thing that you can do to help the channel. And also sharing. Feel free to share this video wherever you like. You're more than welcome to do that. And if you would like individual teachings, or you can leave your interest in the comment section below, or find me at facebook.com/hunter.salazar. No, you don't need to put the W. Facebook.com/hunter.salazar, HUNTER.SALAZAR. Go there. You can contact me on Facebook, talk to me, and we can go from there. But always feel free to reach out and let me know that you're interested. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you have a good day.